Hi, everybody. Jim Ricard's Winery. We're here with a special, exciting dinner with Brad and Jim show. We've taken the Brad and Jim show and got into Eliza's kitchen.
That's awesome.
And that's awesome all by itself. But we're really excited about this, and really, it's pretty cool. And Brad has done an amazing job with the technology. JJ's behind the screen, and Jude is over there commenting. So what do you got
Commenting
for
and
us?
chatting and absolutely with that note. So since this is going to be interactive, what we're going to be doing is Jim and I are going to be tasting through the wine and giving our opinions about the wine. And if you have any comments or questions, please feel free to go ahead and chat those in. And then we're going to pause for a few minutes. And on the lower right, if you're not a Zoom wizard, on the lower right hand side, there's a little button or a widget that's called reactions. And so when we go to the point where we're asking you if you have questions for us, hit that and raise your hand. And then that way we can bring you up your microphone and you can ask us the questions. And because we have so many people online right now, we're keeping you muted right now so that it doesn't end up getting too crazy and we can't hear your questions. So immediate questions, jump in with Jude or JJ on the chat line. And then if you've got something for the wine afterwards, raise the hand and we'll get you in. So that's what's happening.
Yeah.
One other thing is that, so this is going to be recorded so that we can post it online for those folks that couldn't join in today, who thought that they could be here, but, life happens and they can't. So we are going to record it, but the only thing that's going to be recorded is Jim and I. So
Lucky
all of
bombs.
all of your little windows aren't going to be recorded. So that way we can get this up tomorrow morning early, and people can then get to see the show at their convenience. And if something comes up for you, you don't have to worry. You can miss out on the show right as it happens, but you can always catch up in the next couple of days.
And you're going to send him a link for that, right?
Yes. So what we're going to do is in a perfect world, once we get it compressed and uploaded to YouTube, things that I don't know of, but I've been told about, we will have that email out tomorrow around 9 in the morning. So then you can click on it and watch it again and again and again.
Yep. And one of the things I want to really talk about, address, is that this is pretty exciting stuff. As far as we know, this has never been done for, as far as a tasting, wine pairing, food series, where we're looking at an entire picture of it.
Absolutely.
And that's pretty cool. That's pretty neat stuff.
It is pretty neat. And for us, it's been a whole lot of behind the scenes. So thank you all for your patience as we were, this was the first time. So a couple little hiccups, but we've really been working hard on getting those fixed. And gosh dang it, we're doing it again. That brings me to one more thing, a couple more things we got to clean up. We had, I believe, 12, 15, 20 people that missed out on this and are already in line for our next series.
We're going to do another one. We're going to do another one in April. We're still getting the facts together. And, yeah, this is really cool stuff. I mean, yes. I'm having a great time with that. And well, okay, so let's get the ball going.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I think we should talk about we should give a little how we're going to be doing this. We're going to talk about the wine for 3, 4, or 5 minutes, maybe a little bit longer. Jim and I'll talk about it, and then we're going to be moving into the food portion and then asking the questions.
Then we'll talk. Have everybody chime in on it, because this is the interactive part. This is the part for me personally that's going to be kind of exciting. And now this Gewürztraminer, it's one of those, the 3 varieties I call often, I call about it being the 3 most maligned grapes in the world. And they're most maligned because everyone thinks of Muscat, Riesling, and Gewürztraminer as being super sweet, desserty, kind of a little off bitter kind of wines. And the reality is that they're not. And it's all based on how you make the wine and what your goals are. And this guy is our first venture out It's dry,
Yes.
although it tricks your brain. And it tricks your brain because what it's doing is making you smell sweet
Yes.
because the fruit is there.
Unbelievably ripe, rich fruit. So your nose automatically then tells your
Yeah.
brain, uh-oh, here comes a big sweet wine because Jim was able to get this thing harvested at the right time and those flavors are really pronounced.
And yeah, I mean, holy mackerel. Oh boy, I get to drink it.
Yes.
Mm. And it's all about the aromatic whites, the wines that are we talking about.
Yes.
It's all about how you make them. It's not about the grape in itself. And you can take those aromatics whites and do disastrous things to them and then have to make them go away somehow. We really do these aromatic whites really well. And this is a great example of that. Now, the grapes themselves come from the Russian River Valley right at Dry Creek. The Dry Creek Valley hits into the Russian River just below Healdsburg.
Yes, the Dry Creek Valley, if you're not familiar, almost like a box canyon, and so it's a little bit warmer. The Russian River is cooler, and it's the cool thing. That's why it's so important on that location, right? Because those cooler nights
We
allow to keep the acidity.
exactly we see the same fog ultimately because we got a valley here with a
Yes.
river that runs through it,
Yep.
right? So they're seeing that cool, foggy mornings at about 5 or 6.
Right.
We're seeing the same foggy morning. Eventually, it gets to us about 2 or 3 in the morning.
Yep. And then it goes way faster over here. So we don't get that same cooling that they do. And I think that's another really good key to this grape. A lot of folks are growing Gewürztraminer in the Central Valley, and they're not getting that cooling. And for me, and this is more of a grape growing question, it's those wonderful warm afternoons and those cool nights that allow the warm afternoons allow the ripening, and the cool nights allow the acidity to be kept.
Yeah. I mean, as you know, being the grape grower representative here, yay. Um, you know, the fact is that all the great grape growing regions,
Mm.
got to say that quite right, great growing regions in the world have a commonality about them.
Yeah.
And the commonality about them is that they have a long relative growing season. Something slows the process in some way or other. Could be elevation, could
Right.
be cold in the morning. It could be a lot of things, but the fact is that allows the fruit to mature.
Yes.
It's that kind of thing I talk about, and often, and I'm sorry that I beat up on tomatoes this way, but it's it's about tomatoes in a way. In the fact is that the tomatoes what's the difference between the tomatoes you buy at a grocery store and the ones that you grow in your backyard? Not much, really. They're tomatoes. However, the ones in the backyard are picked at optimal flavor. And
Yes.
so they smell like tomatoes. They taste like tomatoes. The supermarket stores are picked earlier and they mature kind of along the way in a sort of way.
Sort of mature along
Yeah,
the way
yeah,
and eventually might taste something like a tomato.
exactly. So what we do is we pick the grapes. We pick the grapes at the optimum maturity.
Yes,
Okay, that's what it's about.
absolutely.
And the Russian River provides us with these Gewürztraminer. And now, the other big important thing here, Brad, is how the wine was made.
You guys do your best in the vineyards, and now we gotta do you justice and make it properly.
Exactly, exactly. And this is made in an interesting sort of way. Not interesting sort of way, no different anything. But the fact is that what we've done here is we split. Typically, when you press grapes off, you get what we call a free run first. And then later on, as the press begins to squeeze the grapes, you get what we call the press grapes, press faction. And the important thing here to recall is that they're way different between the two.
Yes.
Now, what do you see as the difference between free run and press?
So the free run is give you going to give you the true expression of what the grape has given you for the as far as the juice goes. So the juice is going to be lighter and fruitier and probably not contain any bitter flavors. To where skins can give you tannins, some structure maybe, but also don't forget those seeds can also bring in some bitter components.
Yep.
So this being free run, you've eliminated any chance of any bitter components.
Got a better example of
All right.
that. You pop a grape in your mouth. Okay.
All right, the easy way.
Yeah, right. Yeah. You pop a grape in your mouth, and that juice that first comes out of there
Yeah.
is what you go, oh man, it's so good. And you bite down on it, and it gets a little. Well, okay.
You're
So
right.
translating to winemaking. So what Blaine has done in this regard is basically split the load. What we did was we take this wine and we take the free run, the pure juice, and we use that for this guy. And then the press, the light press wine goes into our GVM blend, which adds a little bit of muscle to it.
Right, because those wines need a little bit more tannin and structure to them, and by putting that in with those, now you've added some tannin and structure to
Exactly.
those wines.
Now, then what we've done with this is we've gone a step further. This is the complex part. This is the hard part to explain exactly. Basically, we fermented it in barrel. Now, you know, Chardonnay is the famous grape for being fermented in barrel, but those barrels are aged over a year or longer.
Correct.
Okay. These guys are fermented about 6 weeks in the barrel and then bottled up. So what we get is a different texture. We don't get any oaky, buttery characteristic that would be in Chardonnay. What we get instead is a viscous, a thickness that's provided by the lees, the yeast in this guy.
Right. And so that's helping with the mouthfeel.
Yeah.
So you have that nice viscosity on there. So if it was just all acid, and if it was done just strictly in stainless steel, that would be a really lean minerally wine without all this complexity. And so you've added the complexity by barrel fermenting 70% of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yep. And so that is what we're after. Okay.
Yeah, because when it comes in, you get a really nice full mouthfeel. Like sometimes Sauvignon Blanc or those other grapes, they kind of zip from front to back. This one kind of comes around, and then it allows all those other flavors
It's
to develop.
luscious.
Yeah,
It's luscious. You taste that fruit characteristic, and you know you're expecting, and getting back to that aromatics again. You know.
Yeah.
Oh man, you're expecting that it to be sweet, and a lot of people swear, "Oh, it's sweet." No,
it's dry as a bone. I can validate it. This wine is dry as a bone. There is no residual sugar in there.
It's where you preserve that fruitiness through the winemaking process.
And that's how I can enjoy these wines. You know, for those, when we were talking about maybe people look at Gewürztraminer not as a quality grape that they want to highlight for a dinner party, but when it's made in this style, I mean, absolutely, and it's a wonderful wine to consume on its own because it's not cloying and
it's not sweet.
and sweet.
It's not special wine, and I don't need to put down sweet wines. That's
not all sweet wines are cloying either.
Exactly, and it shouldn't be.
You just have some balance.
It shouldn't be.
In there, right?
It shouldn't be. Even dessert wines should be balanced.
You are correct.
You know, if a wine is a dessert wine is cloyingly sweet, bitter perhaps,
not made right.
You know, it's not made right. Those are wine flaws.
Yep, that's where the grape was fine, but they did themselves a disservice of not making the wine properly.
That's right. That's the way it is. That's the way it is. Now, okay. So now we get into the meat.
Should we getting ready for the actual tasting?
Yeah.
And then real quick, guys, do we have any pressing questions that we need to ask? Do you want to just ask us the question, or do you want to highlight them and
Elizabeth Price has typed in a
All right.
message.
Okay, Elizabeth,
She wants to know, is it aged in a new oak barrel or is it a previously used barrel?
great question.
Great
Good.
question.
That's a great question. Yeah, the deal there is that when you get oaky buttery, you're using newer barrels.
Mhm.
In these cases, these are old neutral barrels, and that's basically what people would say they've had the life sucked out of them. However, the goal is a vessel,
Yeah.
not provide flavor.
Yes. A
Okay.
great vessel that is interacting more than stainless steel. So if this was strictly in stainless steel, so that vessel is hermetically sealed, nothing's happening, no oxygen is getting to it. If you're putting it into a barrel, it's interacting with the atmosphere.
Yeah, exactly. But more than that, well, here's the we have barrels. People ask me all the time, how long barrels last? And I say, 4 to 6 years. Now, white barrels are entirely different.
Yes.
We have barrels out here that this Gewürztraminer we're in that are 2008,
Yep.
10, 12 years old. And what they're doing is they're providing not only a container to finish fermentation in, but also adding what was in there last time.
That's
You're
true too.
looking at a history here,
Mhm.
and they're adding their own little microcosm of flavor to this in an interesting way.
Some subtleties and nuances
Yeah.
that they were doing it.
At one time, perhaps you were used for making Chardonnay when they were brand new.
Mhm.
And then they moved to Sauv Blanc, and then they moved to, and then we got them, and they moved to the neutral country tremendously. But that's what it's about, is the cool part.
Awesome. Any more before we start having some nibbles? All right, fantastic. That's good. So when you're trying to get yourself ready for a wine and food tasting, and you're trying to figure out if the wine goes well with the food and the food goes well with the wine, what's your process?
Okay, here's my thing. I absolutely think that as a rule, people don't, they obsess too much over this wine and food pairing.
Yes.
Yeah, wouldn't you say that? I mean, and there's some simple. I myself, I have simple rules, and the simple rules is basically you do three things. You taste the wine, taste the food, and then taste the combination, food and wine. And basically, all you hear about is how the wine changes the food experience. But that's not how it should be. It's a two-way street here, don't you think?
Oh, it's huge. I can't tell you how many times food has ruined actually ruined a wine for me. And it is incredibly important to find out if it needs to be reciprocal to me. It needs
does.
to elevate both of them.
It's a two-way street. And the fact is that not only should the wine enhance the food experience, but the food should also enhance the wine experience. Okay.
Absolutely.
So now, what do you say? Now, one of the things we did, we had our, Eliza's beautiful mushroom souffle.
Hope you guys
But
can
also,
see how fantastic they are.
yeah,
Absolutely gorgeous. I can't believe we haven't bitten in yet.
Eliza,
Smells so good.
Yeah, I know that. It's tough.
I get the spoon.
There you go.
Eliza's in the corner, making
Yes.
sure we don't, believe me. However, let's start out with a little bit of cheese.
All right, sounds
Now-
good. So we'll go with the wine, cheese, wine.
Yeah.
All right,
Okay. So
beautiful. And these aromatics, there's honeysuckle and jasmine and pear.
and spice,
and spice.
spiciness.
That's right. Actually, we didn't even mention that. Gewürztraminer somehow brings in these beautiful baking spices into the mix, and I just absolutely love that.
Sweet spices. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh man.
Mm.
Cheers, everybody.
Yes. Cheers.
Yay.
Thank you. This is good times. Mm.
Mm.
Rich flush is fantastic.
Now I've got a nice mid palate. Now that's something else we should discuss. I'm just
Okay.
going to throw this right out here.
I'm ready.
I mean, when people are tasting wine, again, there's a big mystique about doing this thing.
Yes.
Generally, excuse me, I'm talking about three phases of tasting wine. I'm talking about front, mid palate, and finish.
Yes.
Okay. So walk us through this.
All right. So front, what's your first initial flavors? And then what I'm thinking about on the front, did those aromatics, did that spice translate through? Sometimes you can have a wine where you have, a wild raspberry flavor, but then all you get is cherry on the palate. So the first thing I'm looking for is, or did those aromatics transfer through? And with this one, I'm saying yes.
Yeah. When I'm in the front palate, I'm looking for fruit and acidity.
And it's there in the fruit. I'm getting the wonderful, really ripe peaches, um, a little bit of spice actually up front too, good acidity. And then and the other thing I'm looking for when I'm tasting a wine is the transition from the front of the palate to the mid. Is it jagged to where you maybe had some light peaches here, but now all of a sudden you have a sweet peach over here? Or did the flavor kind of roll?
Or it goes kind of like across your palate, right?
Yeah, and this wine does not. This wine leads you from one flavor to another. And so I noticed that nice acid. I had those wonderful pear flavors. And then in the mid palate, when he was talking about the viscosity of the wine, and then it started, kind of rolling over the side of my tongue. And then the flavors that were nice and bright and fruity are becoming a little richer
Yeah.
as it's crossing the palate. And then this is where a lot of the Gewürztraminer go sideways, is that they can't translate into a clean, refreshing wine. So you get that nice richness. So
yes.
the finish, then you have that nice voluptuous flavor. And then as the wine finishes off, it's tapering off quite nicely, but you're reminded of the acidity again. And so that acidity that you met up front is now taking you through the finish. And it's the acidity now that's going to be the big question. Is this wine going to pair nicely with food? You have some cheese, you have fats, you have acidity, fat. Now you're going to
Yeah, let's see if it
be
goes.
okay.
So taste the wine first.
The aromatics is beautiful.
And the finish is, for me, wonderful.
Yeah, it's where that goes when it transfers from the mid, where you get that nice rich flavor, to a nice clean crisp finish. Absolutely fantastic.
Cheese is really creamy.
Mm-hmm.
A little
Actually,
smoky, a little bit.
There's a little bit of smoke and earthy this to it as well.
Okay.
And really nice. I'm a fan of Gruyere, so I like it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. What did it do to the mid palate for you, Jim? Where this is?
I'm seeing this is what this is doing for me, is that I noticed that with
Yes, sir. I thought you might need a little bit more.
Thank you.
There you go.
You notice something about foods of this side, is that one of the things that make wines work is that the acid component cleanses the palate for the next bite. And when we're eating food, interestingly enough, is that I find that we drink wines differently. Okay, we automatically change this out. Now, a nice white wine like this cleanses the palate, correct?
Yep.
Whereas a red would add components to the food.
Yes.
Okay, so we tend to with protein, big meals, and you'll see it in the future with us. And you tend to drink big drinks of wine as you're eating.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas when you're drinking a white wine with rich food, you tend to take little sips.
Yeah, and then it kind of all blends together. And,
Exactly.
but it kind of is like it fully cleanses the palate. And
For the
then
next bite.
for the next bite. And but I also think that the cheese is elongated the finish too. So for me, and it wasn't a quick finish at all. It was a nice lingering finish,
Mhm.
but it made it go on and on and on. And then it was a nice mixing of the two flavors there of the cheese and the wine. So
Mhm.
I would say this is a great pairing for a Gewürztraminer. Because you have it's not a heavily stinky cheese. It's not a really aromatic, or on those bigger
You need something
aromatic
really
cheese.
creamy.
Yeah, so the creaminess to balance with the acid.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
a little nutty flavors. Yes,
Yeah. Thank you,
absolutely.
Eliza.
Thank you.
Yo, we
I think we have
got
a
a question.
Lane Scott is saying that they're getting a little bit of green apple on this as well.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I was mentioning a lot of pear, but there is apple running. Actually, there's a lot of apples in the nose too, running through the mid palate. And honestly, the finish to me is more of that nice green apple.
And lots of times people talk about Gewürztraminer in this style as being apple pie.
Excellent. Yes, absolutely. Um, good job. Yes.
Ah, very nice. Okay.
All right. So
Should we dive in?
should we try some souffle? All right. So now we've gone through that. Now we're gonna move into some good stuff here. A little bit of
Now,
water.
before we, is there anything you'd like to say about the preparation, Eliza?
Oh, well, I have a few comments, but why don't you try it first?
Okay.
And then I'll add my comments while you're chewing and eating and filling your mouth and drinking your wine. How would that be?
That sounds
Okay,
perfect.
so go ahead, dig in.
All right, here we
All right.
go. All right, I've got to get into my wine and then I'll
Wine
taste my.
first, Jen, wine first.
Yeah, I'm gonna. I
Okay,
just gonna.
Mm.
okay, it's all set. Good.
All right.
Couple of things, as I was making the recipe today, you, as a cook, you revisit your recipes. They're kind of living things that continue to evolve, even if you've made them a dozen times. So what I found with this recipe is the part about when you're sauteing the chopped mushrooms. Oh, when you're sauteing the chopped mushrooms, is that good? Good audio. Okay, Jimmy, share your mic. That's all right. It's a matter of letting their juices express themselves and also evaporate, because you don't want all that liquid in the sauce itself. Jim taught me 30 years ago to add a splash of wine to mushrooms when you're sauteing them, to let them express themselves.
I talked about get them started.
Get them started, absolutely. So a splash of the Gewürz in there, a splash of our other lovely white wines that you might have on hand, just help them open up a bit, and that nuanced flavor carries on into this beautiful sauce mix, which in itself, is there a question?
How thick does the sauce need to be before it's ready?
It looks kind of like lumpy sausage gravy. It gets really thick. And that is the 4 tablespoons of butter and the 4 tablespoons of flour. If you're making a roux, basically with the mushrooms, and then you add the cup and 2/3 of milk, and at that point, it's thickening up really well. You add the cheese, and it becomes almost a paste. Let me just say, it's a paste.
He's literally making it right now.
Okay.
So you're helping him out.
Good job. There you go.
All right, great, fabulous. You got it live on camera.
That is
Amazing.
awesome.
That
is awesome.
That's yeah. Okay, he gets bonus points. So as far as it thickens up with the cheese addition and letting it cool, at that point you have a wonderful base, which is the best cream of mushroom soup that you've never taken out of a can, because it can be used in whatever cream of mushroom soup recipe you have. And a twofer, okay, this is a twofer as far as this recipe goes, because if you stop with the sauce kind of in this thick pastiness, put 3 or 4 skinless, boneless chicken breasts in a bowl, microwave them, cut them in half, microwave them for 8 minutes or maybe 10 minutes until they're not pink in the middle. Pour that extra juice that comes off them when you microwave them into the sauce. Put half the sauce in your 3-quart casserole. Then put in your can of drained. Here, Jimmy. This is the artichoke hearts. Yeah, Marie's artichoke hearts. It's quartered artichoke, not marinated, And then the chicken on top. Then put the other half of the sauce on top. A little more of the cheese. Bake it for 30 minutes. Bake it for 30 minutes in a 375-degree oven, and you have a most fabulous casserole dish.
So you made your own mushroom, cream of mushroom base.
Right.
And then, so instead of using a can, you've got the best thing because you used your best mushrooms.
Absolutely. And there's Gruyere cheese is in there.
That
and,
sounds good.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Maybe
really
we
good.
should, expect that
That-
tomorrow.
Okay. Okay.
Well,
For the second.
this is
And the other thing is, I hate to wash things while I'm preparing my dishes. So whip the egg whites with 1/8 of a teaspoon of cream of tartar. If you don't know that trick as far as whipping egg whites and making them really fluff up nice and be firm, do that first. Then whip up the yolks. You don't have to wash your beaters in between.
Oh, then it's ready to go.
Yeah, yeah. Then the yolks go into the mix first. Then you blend in the whites, and it's all nice cream and.
It is
and-
all
and
about
show-
those little kitchen
Show
trips.
what one was. Yeah, take one out.
Look at these guys, absolutely gorgeous.
and oh, by the way, what's cream of tartar?
Cream of tartar.
Flavor crystals.
They are flavor crystals. So if we don't get our wines heat and cold stabilized properly, which is what is proper now, but everybody used to get flavor crystals back in the day. So what happens is if you don't cold stabilize the wine and the wine gets a little cold, cream of tartar technically binds up and drops to the bottom of your bottle. And if you use that, you'll have your very own cream of tartar made by Jim or I. Hopefully our wines these days
No,
don't
But
produce
however,
those.
the red wine will have on the
absolutely do
quart.
it. You have a nice older red wine, and that wine's been stored at a nice cellar temperature. It will develop those. The cream of tartar
Yeah.
will bind.
That's where it
and
comes from.
stick to the cork.
Potassium bitartrate.
And if it's not on your cork, it wasn't stored properly.
Question, how much cream of tartar?
It
Oh.
was 1/8 of a teaspoon.
Oh, 1/8 of a teaspoon, so just
Yeah.
just enough, just a
It's called
touch,
Maybe a pinch.
a pinch. I would that would be in the pinch. So
Yes.
another question.
Can we get this recipe typed up and posted for folks that are quite interested in this?
Okay, it is, I think it's on the website already. Yes, it's already on the website. On our J. Ricard's Winery website under Friends and Recipes. Yes,
Cindy just wants to make a comment. Cindy's never made a souffle as far as she can remember, and it all worked out. And what you're describing is exactly what she saw.
Yay!
Awesome. Well, good for you. I'm glad that you're learning new tricks.
Debbie
Absolutely.
Durst just made her first souffle, and it was delicious.
excellent.
Oh, that
Okay,
is
and Wesley, thanks to you on that
absolutely
cream of tartar.
fantastic.
We've gone into
Yeah.
another
There it is.
another world here.
It's one of
Crossed
those,
over.
one of those magic chemistries in cooking, why cream of tartar does this to egg whites, but
That
I would
is
have
awesome.
to research that a bit.
Getting a lot of souffle first timers here that are like thrilled because it
Oh.
worked out just like you said.
Okay.
And it is very, very tasty. So we
Oh,
got
it is?
happy people on the other
It's
side.
tasty.
It's more than tasty. It's
This is-
fantastic.
This is
It's
really,
fantastic.
really cool stuff. This is what the Brad and Jim show are really pretty much a laid back kind of a thing anyways. And to push it out there for folks, for dinner with Brad and Jim, not a bad deal.
No, it's not. And then you can enjoy the things that we do. And what's also neat is over this last couple of years, we've been having a lot of fun. Almost, we're comparing our wines. We both make very good wine, and so that's nice. But what we really do is we have these food throwdowns, is where this came from, basically how we ended up doing this. And for us, being And I'm assuming for you too, people that enjoy flavors and different styles of flavors. For us wine folks, we obviously enjoy the food component just as much as the wine
Well,
sometimes.
the other thing is, it's important to understand is that Brad and I are not competitors. We are collaborators,
Yes.
and the left bank is a collaboration.
Mhm.
And the goal here is that in the wine industry, we all know that one good bottle of wine sells another.
Yes.
The fact is that we are in the Alexander Valley, and maybe you'll come across some wine made from one of the wineries down the valley or wherever, and say, "Oh, I'll try that." And that's the cool stuff. That's the really good stuff. And the fact is this is a lot of fun.
It is just so much fun. And he's right. It is not there is no competition in the making of wine. We have our styles, and Jim and I have very distinct style preferences in how we make our wine. But I think our underlying crossover is balance. And so the reason why I like Jim's wines so much is because they're amazingly well balanced, and I try to find some balance in my wines as well. And this Gewürztraminer is with it all the way. And do we have any more questions before we start talking about? Oh, perfect. All right. Because gosh dang it, I need to talk about the souffle and this wine and what it did to each other.
Go for it.
It's amazing. All right.
As
So
a consumer, now,
all right.
what I want you to do is switch your hats, but not in public.
Okay.
Okay.
So to say
Okay.
that's this has got COVID hair up here, and I don't want to unleash it on the masses.
No. And what I want you to do, one of the hard parts
All right.
actually is a winemaker, is to be able to switch hat and put on consumer hat. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
In that, like everyone that's joined us here today,
Yes.
you guys out there are consumers. And we put this all on as a device to be able to have a conversation with you about this. And putting on the consumer hat is a tough job.
It is. In my life, I've been on both sides of the,
Mhm.
from consumer, and then,
Yeah.
as I wasn't born and raised in this business, and so I ended up in high-end restaurants and resorts, having to understand those consumers, and then I ended up as a regional wine buyer, and I had to understand those consumers, and so I can put on that consumer hat and feel pretty good about it.
Okay.
And so if I'm just thinking about this wine and what other people's perception are going to be is in this would be a wine that I would bring into my retail because I can break down those preconceived notions on what an American Gewürztraminer may be. And I think the other thing that you really need to pay attention to is that, especially up here in the northern Alexander Valley, the small producers, we are not trying to mimic a large producer mass production wine. We are trying to mimic, and I'm sure you are. I'm going to speak for you. We are not trying to mimic a large mass production American style of wine.
Oh yeah.
We are not. I know we are not. I'm trying to, and I know Jim is. We've had the luxury of traveling and enjoying wines from around the world, and so we've, maybe we were in Germany, or maybe we were in somewhere in the Alsace region where we got to experience a real Gewürztraminer that wasn't made improperly like those ones we had talked about earlier.
Well,
And so when I'm looking at these as a consumer point of view, am I looking at a wine that is been properly made or improperly made?
now tell me about it. How's that work with the souffle? That's now I have to say that my souffle is almost gone.
It's,
I'm about
I'm
ready to
going
go
one
on that.
last bite because I'll tell you what, when Eliza was talking about all these things, I was like, oh my gosh, creamy tartar, I got to remember that. But what I was thinking all the while is we talked about how the creaminess balanced with the acid. Obviously, as you guys are making it, there's a lot of cream and a lot of richness in this wine. And so we've got those nice fatty notes that are going to pair up fantastically with this. But what I'm loving is the earthiness of the mushroom. And then that nice light fluffy texture of the eggs and the souffle itself are actually playing perfectly with this wine. And where we brought out some some nutty flavors with it out of the cheese, you know,
With
kind
the-
of
with the
work their
Gruyere,
way. This is working towards more of those wonderful spicy notes and some earthiness, and it's kind of accentuating the earthiness of the mushroom,
yeah.
pairing with that nice bright apple, and it's not diminishing the apple, but the apple is also not taking away from the souffle. And so when you taste something, or if you have a glass of wine and then you go up to an appetizer area and you have something and all of a sudden the wine doesn't taste good, you just ran into a bad food and wine pairing, where this is pleasant all the way through. Everything that I loved about this was accentuated. Everything that I loved about the wine was accentuated too. Now, it doesn't always have to be as perfect a pairing as this. As long as the wine is really good and then it maybe accentuated the food, or vice versa. The food was still just fine, but the wine became more exciting.
I tend to go with with the idea that that a wine
Mm.
that has a nice acidity and richness like this
Yes.
does, and fruit, the souffle to me has got this rich, eggy,
Yes.
cheesy characteristic
Mhm.
that needs a little acidity.
Yes.
Okay, and they got to match up. They got to be together. And the other overriding issue is this fruitiness. The components here that I'm tasting, just like you said, the earthiness of the mushrooms
Mhm.
and the egginess of, if you would, in combination with the acidity and the fruit characteristic of the wine, we got a complete package here.
Absolutely, because I believe that this souffle, and you guys are all eating it right now. Hopefully, it is so rich and intense. You need that acidity to help brighten your palate up for the next bite. Um, a, a quick reference to a red wine and a fatty steak in the same genre, where we're using more tannins to help the palate out. But what happens when it's about acids and fats, and so we have acid here and we have fats here. If you eat 5 or 6 bites without this, then you're missing out on things, because those fats just lay on your palate, and that's what really a wine
Yeah.
and food pairing is about. So your second or third bite might not be as delicious if you didn't have nice acidity to kind of scrub that fat off your tongue. And so that's why, first of all, they enhance each other. Secondly, I can eat more of this, so it's not so rich and weighty
Right.
on my
I mean,
palate.
that's the thing is that, again, remember I talked about
Mm.
the difference between, having this, you're taking a bite, sip, bite, sip,
Yes.
bite,
Oh,
sip.
absolutely. And I
With,
am.
with, yeah, exactly. Me too. I'm not anymore though.
Oh, well, look, there's another one. Those aren't just the fake ones on there. This is real stuff that we are going to be eating here shortly. Oh, that's all right. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. So, so for me personally, I just think this is a great pairing. The other thing I really liked about it, especially this is your first course, let's say that while you're waiting for the souffle to get ready and you're going to sit down to dinner, what's nice is you can be enjoying the Gewürztraminer beforehand, and then you can lead right into your first course with a wine that you've already been
Absolutely.
enjoying,
Yeah.
because that's what we did. We got to talk for a little while about this wine, and then I jumped into the course, and then all of a sudden the wine was fantastic before, but now I'm getting all those wonderful flavors. And so a great wine as a starter, first of all, because it goes great
Yeah.
just on its own.
Yeah.
Secondly, it went perfect with the first course. And that's what I'm always looking for.
Yeah. And
so I can have a
well,
glass or two
the thing
before.
is that we're working on the first course, and
Mm.
that's the neat part of this. What's unique about this whole business we're doing is this a series
Yes.
over the next. You're stuck with us for the next month.
You are. But we're going to be keeping it more and more fun. We've got a lot of great things coming up.
We are, and the reality is that we're working on the second issue of this.
Which
We've had
means
so
we have
much
to do a lot of
great
cooking.
response to this
Yep.
that we're talking about doing it in April.
Yep.
And we have a lot of other stuff to work out in this regard. But we're Eliza's been working on a couple of ideas for this from our part of it,
Me too.
and you have to.
I've been going way outside my comfort zone with some cooking that I've been meaning to getting into.
Oh, right. I challenged. I put the Spurs to,
Yeah,
to,
he
to
did.
Brad.
We had some ideas. He goes, "Well, what if he did this?" I'm like, oh, "Okay, all right." So,
All right. That's coming in April.
and then one other really quick thing for next week, we just had today a couple of people that started looking for Dungeness crab. Well, out here in California, the reason why I chose this is that Dungeness crab, we should be swimming in it with them. There should be so much, but we had a late season, little strike, and so you probably aren't going to be able to get Dungeness crab across the country right now because they're just now starting to harvest. So what I'm recommending is whatever whatever is localist and I just said that.
Yeah.
Whatever crab happens to be more, whatever your favorite crab is. Let's go with that. I don't care if it's the rock crab from down south, or if you're up in Maryland and you're doing your Maryland crab. Pick a beautiful sweet crab for next week's crab salad, and it will be just fine.
Yeah.
And so don't worry about getting Dungeness. Just worry about getting a quality crab. I think is
And
the
fresh.
most important. Yeah,
Fresh
quality crab
gotta
if you can, and well, you must. If it's not, if it's for a
Or go
crab,
with the cheese.
there you go, or go with the cheese, because if especially for a crab salad where we're really focusing on what the crab flavors are, and all the other stuff that I threw in there was ancillary.
Well,
Let's-
the fact is that fresh crab, and the fact is that make it in advance if you would.
Yep.
So we can taste with you as you go along. And
What's
you
neat
know-
about that, about 15-20 minutes, and if you do it an hour or two in advance, of course, after you plate it and get it ready to go, toss it in the fridge so it's nice and chilly, and then you can bring it out. And we have a question.
Do you have an alternative option, non-seafood for the crab for next week? Recipe, please. And Lindsay doesn't want to be a killjoy. She just wants an answer to the question.
Get back to it.
I will
Yeah.
get their email. Let me put my little thinking cap on that.
I bet.
What's Jim's idea?
I'm gonna be hollered at
It's
for this,
it's,
but
it's light and sweet.
licorice weed.
Oh, put a
Fennel.
little- use a little fennel and just keep it keep it
Eliza,
vegetarian vegan.
Eliza has a recipe
Actually.
for braised fennel that'll knock your eyes out.
But with a light
This is a
with a
salad,
light
huh?
salad.
I know,
No,
but-
no, no, no,
but,
it's a substitute in a salad, huh?
I know that, sweetheart, but what you do is you don't serve it hot.
Oh,
It's
keep
cold.
it, go get it cold. So roast it first, and then get it nice and chilly, and then add it in. And I was, because as soon as you said that, I was trying to figure it out. This is going to work. The champagne vinegar, where you guys at? There you go. The champagne vinegar and the fennel will go absolutely fantastic. So will the creme fraiche. The
And-
onions were going to go good. The garlic.
So just braise.
So I would just make it. Yeah, I would braise some fennel.
In a vegetable stock, just
Cool.
so that it's nice and tender, and then cool it and chop it up and pretend it's crab.
I think that is going to be our closest thing right now, but I will also put my thinking cap on and get back to you. We've got we know who you are. We'll get back. We'll get back to you. And but that here's the deal. I've been in a lot of Jeopardy rounds like this. And I've never been stumped like that before. Usually I've got that, but we'll put our thing. And we're all foodies as well, so we'll put our thinking caps on and see if there's something. And then maybe tomorrow or the next day I'll do that because that ingredient might be going into something for next month, and I happen to have a lot of it
Well,
around.
then you can buy it and just keep it in the
There you
in
go.
the crisper, and it'll be ready.
A little celery root too for some. All right, I've got some ideas. Let me get back to you on that.
Then you
I have
a little fresh, sliver some fresh celery into that salad.
I was thinking of the celery root, since we were going roots for next week.
Couple of family shout outs. Want to thank Laura Schultz for joining us. She is mother of our dear Alex, and
Yay.
she's watching tonight. And also Jim's son-in-law, Steve Gibbs, out there doing the cooking for the missus, which is fabulous.
Right,
Darling
Chris.
Petunia, baby
My,
Petunia.
my little petunia. Yes, Chris.
Yeah, fabulous. Great. nice to have family join us.
Yep,
'Cause we haven't
yep,
been able to
and-
have family
and-
join us.
and a
this
lot of
year.
friends, and Jack and Florence up in Mendocino,
Yeah. Fabulous.
and you
Excellent.
know, this is our wonderful family here.
Yeah, this is awesome.
This is cool.
All right, one last little, any more questions, anybody? Well,
Everybody's having a good time.
That's
Everybody's,
fantastic.
like feeling solid on their souffle skills.
yay, souffle skills.
Yay.
And a lot of folks have chimed in with different Asian foods that they have
Oh,
paired with
that
their
they can-
groups today.
Mhm.
Chinese,
Oh,
among
Oh, yeah.
other
classic pairings,
saying that
absolutely.
The pairing on that was pretty spectacular, and probably a shout out to Whole Foods to find crab for those in our area. for
Yeah.
This part of the world. And Wesley is wanting a note, if you could send him a note to his employer tomorrow to let him know, I think he's consumed his entire bottle of Converts, that he'll be a little late. or he'll
Wait a
be
minute,
working
is
from
that
home.
is that Wesley and Scott? Is that my Arizona contingent
It's
out there?
Wesley's, it's just Wesley's iPad.
It,
was all I
it,
can
it
say.
sounds like that sounds like my good Arizona folks out there doing that. But my gosh, this has
and
been
it-
fantastic. Eliza, absolutely fantastic
Thank
food.
you so much.
Thank you, Eliza.
Jim, fantastic wine. And my gosh,
And a really cool kitchen.
I know. Has anybody noticed this? That's not a fake poster. That's the real deal. You know they're serious about cooking when you've got the 27 burning Viking wolf thing that's going. Oh, Viking that's going on back there. Absolutely gorgeous, and no, the food absolutely exquisite. And I hope that you guys, all of you new souffle fans, now you've got something in your repertoire. So when you've got friends coming over, you can knock it out of the park. Order up some Gewürztraminer because there's only 70 cases made. Yeah.
One last thing on the souffle is I did let it sit just in its ramekins without the cream and the cheese on top before baking for about
Yes,
20
please.
minutes. So it doesn't have to be, lickety split.
So you can make it a little. You can make it a little before, and then just top it.
Top it and put it in the oven. And
If you were
do
Guy
it nice and
Fieri, that'd be
brown.
top it and pop it in the oven and
Absolutely.
bam with emerald.
Yeah, you got it.
No, I think, yeah, I think
Okay.
That was
Yeah.
fantastic.
these are really good. Cheers, my friend.
Cheers. Thank you, Jim.
Yay.
Yay.
Take
Well-
care, guys.
We'll see you guys next week.
Okay.
Yep.